What if I told you that there's one game that guarantees you'll lose every time you play it? A game where the only way to win is just to stop completely playing that game. And what if I told you that most people who are stuck in their setbacks are playing this game every single day, and most of them without even realizing it? The game is called blame. And if you're playing it, it's destroying your chances of recovery. But I'm going to show you how to quit the game, take back your power, and start creating the comeback you deserve. Welcome back to our video series. And again, I'm John Reic. And in our previous videos, we've covered the truth about setbacks, the 4-step turnaround system, and the foundation of right thinking. Today, we're addressing what might be the biggest obstacle in your recovery, and that is the blame game. Here's what you're going to discover in this video. Number one, you're going to discover why blame is the most seductive trap that keeps good people stuck in bad situations. Number two, you're going to discover the hidden costs of playing the victim that most people never realize that they are paying. And number three, how taking responsibility instantly restores your power to change any situation, no matter how hopeless it seems. This might be the most important video in this entire series because everything else we've talked about won't work if you're still playing the blame game. So let's get started. Let's talk about the seductive trap. First, let me explain why the blame game is so seductive and why good people get trapped in it. When you're in pain, when your world seems to have fallen apart, when you're overwhelmed by the magnitude of your situation, blaming others feels good in the short term. It gives you someone to be angry at. It makes you feel like a victim instead of a failure. It provides a reason why your situation isn't your fault. Blame offers relief from responsibility. And when you're hurting, that relief feels like exactly what you need. But here's what every blame game player kind of fails to understand. Whoever you blame, you make more powerful than yourself. When you blame your ex-spouse for your financial problems, you give them control over your financial future. When you blame the economy for your business failure, you give the market conditions control over your success. When you blame your upbringing for your current struggles, you give your past control over your present. When you blame bad luck or timing for your setbacks, you give random events control over your destiny. You literally transfer your power to them and make yourself their victim. This is why the blame game is the only game where playing guarantees you'll lose. Every minute you spend blaming others is a minute you're not spending on solutions. Every ounce of your energy you invest in being a victim is energy you're not investing in your comeback. So let's look at the 5 stages of blame. Most people who get caught in major setbacks go through 5 predictable stages of blame. Understanding these stages helps you to recognize when you're stuck and choose a different path. Stage 1 is shock and denial blame. Write that down. Shock and denial blame. What do they say? They say, this can't be happening. There must be some mistake. Someone screwed up. This isn't fair. In this stage, you blame the universe, you blame God, you blame fate, you blame everything, or you blame the system for allowing this to happen to you. Now, stage number 2 is anger and target blame. So what do they say? Well, it's all their fault. They destroyed my life. If they hadn't have done that, this wouldn't have happened. In this stage, You identify specific people to blame and focus all your anger and energy on these targets. Now, in stage 3, this is called circumstance blame. This type of blame is where someone says something like, the timing was terrible. Nobody could have predicted this. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. In this stage, you blame circumstances, timing, or market conditions. This feels more mature than personal blame, but it's equally disempowering. Now, in stage 4, this is called self-blame and shame. And this is what a person who self-blames and has shame says. I'm such an idiot. I should have known better. I destroy everything I touch. In this stage, you turn the blame inward, but in a very destructive way. This leads to shame and paralysis. Stage number 5 is the chronic victim identity. This person says things like, these things are always happening to me. I never get a break. Nothing ever works out for me. In this final stage, being a victim becomes your identity. You collect injustices like trophies and resist solutions because they would require giving up your victim status. Here's the truth. Every stage of the blame game is powerless. No matter who or what you blame, you remain stuck because you've placed the power to change your situation outside of your control. Now, there are some hidden costs to this, so let me show you the devastating cost of playing the blame game that most people never realize they're even paying. Cost number 1 is it destroys your problem-solving ability. When you're focused on who's to blame, you're not focused on what to do next. Blame thinking and solution thinking cannot exist in the same mental space. You're either looking backward to assign fault or you're looking forward to create solutions, but you cannot do both. Cost number 2 is it repels people who can help you. Nobody wants to help a chronic blamer. People avoid victims because their negativity is draining and their problems seem unsolvable. The most successful, influential, and resourceful people, the ones you need in your corner during a comeback, are naturally attracted to people who take responsibility and repelled by those who don't take any responsibility. Cost number 3. It wastes precious recovery time. Every day spent in blame is a day not spent in recovering and getting back to where you were before. While you're busy being angry at your spouse or your ex-spouse, your competitors are gaining market share while you're focused on what your former partner did wrong, or other entrepreneurs are building the success you could have had. Time doesn't stop while you play the victim. Now then, cost number 4 is this. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What I mean by that, when you consistently tell yourself and others that you're powerless, that life is unfair, and that nothing works out for you, these beliefs become your reality. Your subconscious mind will then go to work proving that you're the victim and the story is true. Now, let's talk about the moment that everything changes. Let's talk about what brings that change. There is a pivotal moment in every successful comeback story. A moment when the person stops asking, why did this happen to me? And starts asking, what am I going to do about it? That's the moment responsibility begins. And that's when real power returns to you. Taking responsibility doesn't mean accepting blame for everything that happened to you, because bad things do happen to good people. People do treat others unfairly. Markets do crash. Accidents do happen. Taking responsibility means accepting ownership of your response to what happened and your role in creating what happens next? Here's the difference. Blame thinking. My business failed because my partner embezzled money. Personal responsibility thinking goes like this. My business failed partly because I didn't take adequate financial controls in place to prevent the embezzlement. Blame thinking is like this. It says, my marriage ended because my spouse was selfish and uncommitted. Responsibility thinking says this. It says, my marriage ended partly because I didn't recognize the warning signs and address the problems before they became insurmountable. Blame thinking, I lost my job because the company was poorly managed. Responsibility thinking says this, I lost my job partly because I didn't make myself indispensable and didn't see the company's problems coming. Notice that responsibility thinking doesn't excuse the other party's behavior or pretend that some external factors don't matter. It simply focuses on the part of the equation you can control. See, you can control your choices. You can control your responses. You can control your preparation. Your actions can be controlled going forward. So, what happens when you actually take responsibility for what is happening in your life? The moment you stop playing the victim and start taking responsibility, there are several powerful things that start happening immediately. Change number one is this. Your energy begins to shift. Instead of spending mental and emotional energy on anger and resentment and blame, you redirect that same energy towards solutions, opportunities, and action. The energy that was draining you now starts to empower you. Now, change number two is this. You regain control. When you accept responsibility for your response, you take back control from everyone and everything you were blaming. You stop being a victim of other people's choices and you start being the author of your own story. Let's look at change number three. You start seeing solutions. See, blame thinking blinds you to possibilities because it focuses your attention on problems and injustices. Responsibility thinking opens your eyes to opportunities because it focuses your attention on what you can do to improve the situation. Now, let's look at change number four. You attract help. People want to help those who help themselves. When you take responsibility for your situation, you become someone worth investing in. Mentors, partners, and opportunities that were invisible when you were playing the victim suddenly become available. So let me give you a real world example of how this plays out and how it works. Let me tell you about Janet. When her husband left her for another woman, after 20 years of marriage, Janet's initial response was pure blame. He destroyed our family. He ruined our children's lives. He stole our financial security. For 6 months, she stayed stuck in victim mentality, spending her energy on anger and her money on attorney fees, trying to make him pay. Meanwhile, her children were struggling, her finances were deteriorating, her health was suffering from all the stress. The blame game was destroying her life. Then there came a turning point when her teenage daughter said, "Mom, I know Dad hurt you, but we need you to be strong now. We need you to help us figure out what we're going to do." That's when Janet shifted from blame to responsibility. My husband made his choice, and I can't control that, but I can control how I respond. I can focus on rebuilding our lives instead of destroying his. I can show my children how to be strong instead of how to be a victim. This shift changed everything. Janet stopped spending money on revenge and started investing in their future. She went back to school, got certified in accounting, and within 2 years was earning more money than she had made in her marriage. Same situation, different response, different results. So let's talk briefly about the 4 keys to taking responsibility. Here are those 4 keys to making the shift from victim to victor. Get a pencil and paper out if you haven't already and start writing this down. Key number 1, focus on your response, not their actions. You cannot control what other people do, but you can have complete control over how you respond to what they do. Stop spending energy on things outside your control and redirect it toward things that are within your control. Key number 2, look for the lesson, not just the loss. Every setback contains valuable lessons if you're willing to look for them. These lessons are often more valuable than whatever you lost because they prepare you for greater success in the future. Now, key number 3 is you've got to own your contribution without shame. Taking responsibility means honestly assessing your role. What happened? How did it happen? You got to do it without condemning yourself. The goal is learning, not self-punishment. Now, let's look at key number 4. You got to then learn to channel your energy into action and not anger. Anger is just energy without direction. When you take responsibility, you channel that same energy into constructive action that moves you forward instead of destructive emotions that keep you stuck. Now, let's look at some action steps you need to take. Now, there are 3 specific actions to stop playing this blame game and start taking control back of your life and getting control back in your family or your business. Action step number 1, write this down. Write down who or what you're currently blaming for your situation and be honest. Then for each blame target, write down one thing you could have done differently that might have changed the outcome. This isn't about accepting all the blame. It's about identifying the part you can control. Action step number 2 is this. Make the responsibility declaration. Say this out loud. I accept complete responsibility for my life and my results. While I cannot control everything that happens to me, I can control how I respond to what happens to me. I choose to focus my energy on solutions rather than problems and on what I can do rather than what others have done. I refuse to be a victim of my circumstances. I choose to be the architect of my future. Action step number 3 is this. Identify one action you can take this week that moves you toward solutions instead of dwelling on problems. Something that puts you in control instead of keeping you completely powerless. And then take that action and do it. Don't just think about it. Don't just plan for it. Do it. Now, listen, there's power in choice. Here's what you need to understand. You're going to spend energy either way. You can either spend it on being angry, resentful, powerless, or you can spend it being proactive, solution-focused, and empowered. You can use your energy to stay stuck in your setback, or you can use it to create your comeback. The choice is simply yours. But understand this. You cannot create a comeback while you're still playing the victim. Recovery requires taking responsibility. Success requires taking control. And breakthrough requires stopping the blame and starting the work. Every person who has ever turned a major setback into a triumphant comeback had to make this choice. They had to stop playing the victim. They had to start playing to win. They had to quit the blame game and enter the responsibility game. Now it's your turn. It's time for a responsibility revolution. When you make this shift, from blame to responsibility, you join what I call the responsibility revolution. It's a group of people who understand that while they can't control what happens to them, they have complete control over what happens through them. They know that circumstances don't make the person, they reveal the person. Your setback doesn't define you. Your response to your setback defines you. Your circumstances don't control you. Your choices control you. Your past doesn't limit you. Your decisions limit you. Now, this is the most empowering truth in the entire universe. Here it is. You're not a victim of your circumstances. You are not powerless over your situation. You are not at the mercy of other people's choices. You have power, you have control, and you have choice. But only when you stop giving that power away through blame. So, how do you break free from playing the blame game? Here's how to do it once and for all. Step number 1, write this down. Recognize when you're playing the game and pay attention to your language. When you hear yourself saying, it's their fault, if only they ruined or because of them, I can't. Stop it right then. You're playing the blame game. Now, step number 2 is challenge the blame thought. Ask yourself this. How is blaming them helping me move forward? What would I focus on if I wanted to solve this problem? And what part of this situation can I really control? Step number 3, pay attention here, redirect to responsibility. Instead of, they caused this problem, ask, how can I solve this problem? Instead of, it's their fault, ask, what's my role in the solution? Instead of, they control my destiny, declare, I control my responses. And step number 4, take immediate action. The moment you shift to responsibility thinking, take one action that demonstrates your power. Make a phone call, send an email, research an opportunity, apply for a position, start a project. Begin to prove to yourself that you have the power to take your life back and get things on course. So here's a real world transformation for you. Let me tell you about David. When the recession hit, his construction company went from 50 employees to bankruptcy in 18 months. David's initial response was blame. The banks for tightening credit, the government for poor economic policies, his customers for canceling projects, his employees for not working harder. Everyone was to blame except David. David spent a year being angry and bitter, complaining to everyone who would listen about how unfair everything was. His marriage was suffering. His health was declining. He was no closer to recovery. The blame game was destroying his life. Then the wake-up call came when his wife threatened to leave unless he stopped wallowing in self-pity and started working on some solutions. David realized he had a choice. He could continue being a victim of the recession, or he could take responsibility for his comeback. Here's how David's responsibility shift changed everything. Instead of complaining about the market, David started studying it. He discovered that while new construction was down, renovation and repair work was increasing, as people chose to improve their existing homes instead of buying new ones. He also learned that many larger competitors had gone out of business, creating opportunities for smaller, more agile companies. So David started a renovation company. With just 2 employees and a pickup truck, he focused on quality work, excellent customer service, and building relationships. Within 3 years, his new company was more profitable than his old one had ever been. It was the same person, same recession, but different response, and he got different results. The difference wasn't the market. The difference was David's mindset. When he stopped blaming external factors and started taking responsibility for his response, he found opportunities that were invisible when he was sitting around playing the victim, blaming everybody else and blaming everything else. So I want you to learn this responsibility declaration and learn to make it over your own life. I want you to make this declaration right now. So say it with me. I accept complete responsibility for my life and my results. While I cannot control everything that happens to me, I can control how I respond to what happens to me. I choose to focus my energy on solutions rather than problems, on what I can do rather than what others have done. I refuse to be a victim of my circumstances. I choose to be the architect of my future. From this moment forward, I take back control of my life. Now, ask yourself, when you said that, how did you feel? How did that feel? How did you feel, or did you feel a shift in energy? Did you feel your power returning? That's the power of taking responsibility. So here's some immediate action steps. And there are 3 action steps I want you to take to stop playing this blame game and take back control of your life. Action step number 1 is to complete the blame game inventory. List everyone and everything you've been blaming for your situation. Then for each blame target, write down one way you contributed to the outcome and one action you can take to improve things going forward. Action step number 2 is to do this. Make the responsibility declaration I just shared and say it out loud, write it down, post it somewhere where you can see it daily. And let it remind you that you have the power to change your situation. Now then, in action step number 3, I want you to take one action this week that demonstrates your power and control is coming back. Something that moves you towards solutions instead of keeping you stuck in problems. Prove to yourself that you're not powerless. Prove to yourself that you can create positive change. Now, in closing, in this video, I want to talk to you about one last thing. Here's what I want you to remember. The blame game is the only game where playing guarantees you're going to lose. But the moment you stop playing the victim and start taking responsibility, you instantly regain the power to change your situation. Your setback already happened. It's in the past. It cannot be changed. But your comeback, it exists in your future. And it's entirely within your control. It begins the moment you decide to stop blaming and start building. Stop giving your power away to the people and the circumstances you're blaming. Take back control. Take responsibility. Take charge of your comeback. Your power was never really gone. You just gave it away temporarily. Now it's time to take it back right now. In our next video, we're going to conduct what I call the setback inventory, a systematic process of extracting every ounce of value and wisdom from your difficult experience. You'll learn how to turn your crisis into your curriculum and your setback into your setup. And for something even better, don't miss it. But first, stop playing the blame game. Start taking responsibility. Start taking control. Your comeback depends on it. I want to thank you for watching this video, and I'm going to see you in the very next one as we start talking about taking back taking inventory of your setback and what you can learn from all of it. I'll see you in the next video.